It's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, this is Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. I have an amazing guest. I'm actually going to bypass her bio, and I'm going to introduce Miller Zeiderman as the woman I know, the woman I've had lunch with, the woman I've been at benefits with, the woman who is real, a fabulous attorney in the family law area in the New York metropolitan area, as well as in the Hudson Valley area. But this is the thing, listeners. Lisa and I connected through an organization called Savvy Ladies, where Lisa leads the board. Savvy Ladies has been started by Stacey Francis, who is also a guest on Her Success Story this year, so you might want to reference that. But today is about Lisa and I having an amazing conversation about how she's built a business and the amazing connections we make by being involved in a lot of things that comes back to win in our journey in leadership. So Lisa, thank you for joining me here today on Her Success Story.
Thanks so much, Ivy, for having me.
So we met through Savvy Ladies a bunch of years ago. I'm going to give us both the grace of not saying how long. You've led Zeiderman Miller. You're the managing partner for how long? How did the starting of your law firm come about?
So Miller Zeiderman started about 13 years ago, 2013. So what is it now? 2013. Yeah.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Exactly. We actually started the firm understanding that we wanted to start a premier firm that cared about our clients, that did work of excellence, and that really could deal with high stakes litigation, including custody and financial issues. And Faith and I, my partner, knew each other for many years. She had been the attorney for my child, actually, back when I went through my divorce litigation. And we decided we were going to start up this firm. We started with 4 or 5 people. I can't remember, but 4 or 5 people. And we quickly learned that we needed to develop a firm culture, figure out who we were, and we are now about 55 people.
That's huge. That is huge. I'm going to throw this out there. And so listeners, just so you have a context, although Lisa and I know each other for years, we gave her no prep on this interview. So all these questions I'm throwing at her are completely off the cuff. What did you learn? What were some of the learning lessons that you've learned in growing a firm, growing your team? And some of those lessons, they come from all fashions.
So I think as we grew the firm, we learned that we need to be extremely appreciative to the people who actually are working in the firm. I think that's the most important thing that we learned, that people will work hard. They obviously need to be compensated well, which I hope we do, because I think we do it. But they also need to be appreciated. They also need to have flexibility. They need to have flexibility to deal with their children and their spouses and their partners and, their parents. And they are very often caregivers for many, many different people in their lives. And while they certainly want to put their careers first and I wouldn't say foremost, but certainly up there, they also have lives. And I learned that you have to be flexible about that. And that was something I think I probably learned it best in COVID. I'm going to say that.
I think that's a lot of truth there.
COVID was a life-changing experience. So where people would come to me and they would say, well, I need to work from home today. I was like, not so thrilled about that, right? Or I need like a week to deal with my kids. Oh, okay. It was like a little bit of grumpiness when I would hear that, right? Because I was running a business and I wanted it to be about the business. But I learned that people can do more than one thing. And if you give them the flexibility and the ability to actually take care of their families, that they will give back in so many more ways. And so we became hybrid. After COVID, we became very hybrid. My team many days works at home and they get to see their kids and they get to their kids come home from school, even if it's just to catch up shortly or to have a lunch with a spouse or to do something that's important to to them. But if they have to take a Saturday and do some work, they won't feel that they're neglecting their families because their families are now integral in their lives during the week as well.
Right. Years ago, especially when you and I were coming up, you only had, this limited period of time as working moms to actually be present. Right. Now there is such flow and there's such respect for working parents. It's not just the moms, it's the moms and the dads that are in
Yes.
it as 100% today. There's that expression of, give and take. And when you give, you will receive.
I think that's true. Look, I look at my son-in-law. You and I were talking before we got on. I just had a grandchild, and my son-in-law works for a big entity on the West Coast, and he had enormous amounts of paternity leave. Frankly, it was shocking how much time he had, but I also could see that he was able to bond with my grandchild in such a way that, in the days that you and I were coming up and working, that probably wouldn't have been possible. It wouldn't have been possible for the working mom or the working dad. You had to get back, and your job was in jeopardy, or you perhaps felt like somebody else was going to take over. You were concerned about it. At one point, I even said to him, perhaps you might think about going back to work and not taking all that paternity leave. And he looked at me like I was just crazy. And I said, well, you could maybe take it over time. And he said, that's not the way it's done. And, things are different. And so I think that in order to keep building and keep building an entity, you have to keep in mind that times have changed.
It is very true. Times have changed. And it was funny because when we had our granddaughter about a year and a half ago, my son-in-law's mom and I were talking like paternity. Like, I don't know. My husband left the delivery room, went to work the next morning and then showed up for the afternoon feeding. She goes, oh,
Exactly.
so it showed up so soon. I think mine would, right? And we would laugh about it. And out of respect to the younger generations and their values and how they're driving by their values, great leadership is leaning in and we're learning.
I think that it is all about learning and listening and making sure that you are listening to the needs of the people who are working with you. And notice I didn't say for you because I think that it is a team event, right? And I think that again, you need to be appreciative of people and their needs because they will then be appreciative of you and your needs and your company's needs.
It's so true. Let me ask you, referenced earlier about learning to build a culture. And it's interesting when we work with companies, culture is important, values is important, etc. Yet today, there's a lot of books and there's a lot of TED Talks. There's a lot of stuff that you can be leaning into. But a bunch of years ago, there really wasn't so much. How did you and Faith start learning to build the culture that was important to you?
So I think it came through, I'm going to say to some degree, through it was a learning curve, certainly, right? And it was people coming in and maybe not being a fit. And then all of a sudden, we had a group of people who were a complete fit. And then I thought to myself, what is it that makes all of these people a real fit for us? And it was, as I said earlier, they want to do excellent work. They want to prevail for our clients. They have families, many of them, not all of them, but they are able to integrate their family life and their business life into some sort of a harmonious balance. Now, I use the word balance, and I really didn't mean to, because I think it's more of an integration system, right?
I agree.
That because we're really not a work-life balance firm. I'm going to say that we're not. We are about working hard for our clients, about being compensated well. And that means that my people are compensated well, right? And it also means that they have to be responsive to the clients. And that may mean that they have to be responsible, sometimes on the weekends or at midnight or whatever it is, right? Because these are clients who expect that. On the other hand, when they are thinking about their day, they may have a conference for a child or a speech therapy appointment or whatever it is. That's also part of their lives, right? So it's an integrated type of atmosphere. So they want to be compensated, they want to do excellent work, they are willing to work hard. They're not there really for the social aspect of it. I'm going to say that. They want to all like each other and be able to work well together, but it's not a coffee clutch either. Okay. And so I think that that's really our culture in terms of how I would describe everyone who now works for us and what their common goals are. They want to excel. And that is really important. Excel for themselves and also excel, most importantly, for our clients.
Yeah, there's something that is so fulfilling when you accomplish something for a client, when you
Yes.
help a client reach a milestone, reach a settlement, reach something that they have growth, closure, and you create good resolutions. It is so fulfilling to work with clients who are fulfilled in that process. And there's a self fulfillment in that.
Yeah, I think it's about pride. There's pride in the work that my office takes. And I think that that is so important, actually. They feel pride in the work that they've done. So when we get a great trial result, or we get a great result from a motion, or it's been a fabulous conference, they are thrilled because the client is happy. They have done something to change somebody else's life. It just all works together, and that is so important.
So, one of the things that I admire and respect about you, so, is you are dedicated as a family member, as a mom, as a wife, etc. You're dedicated and leading Miller Zeiderman like with your whole heart, and you're very involved in boards. Let's
Yes.
talk about why and how you accomplish it all.
The boards that I am on, and I have narrowed, I will say that I have narrowed into two boards that I am part of because I think that the work that they do is so important. I am, as you know, board chair of Savvy Ladies, which is actually an organization dedicated to women's financial literacy. And such an important mission, frankly, to make sure that women are in control and empowered to take control of their finances. And we do that through financial education. And we offer a helpline that actually allows women to connect one on one with professionals who have expertise in the financial world. And so that is hugely impactful. And it's free, it's nationwide and it's free. So they can download an app or call in. And the other board that I am equally involved in is Family Legal Care, which is a phenomenal organization dedicated toward people being able to advocate for themselves in family court. So it's not that we represent the people in family court, but instead people come to us who are unrepresented by attorneys and they are looking for someone to help them learn how to navigate the court system. What do they say? What petitions do they have to put in? How do they actually speak about it in court? If they are going through a trial, what do they need to do in terms of presenting evidence, et cetera? And there is an entire team of law firms who provide pro bono work to do this. Big Law has stepped in because we care about families,
Thank
and
you.
it's an amazing organization.
How do you find time? Bottom line, we're busy world, busy people. How do you find time, or better said, how do you create the time?
Well, so my husband has a line that I will repeat, which he says there's two of them. He says that there's no schmonday when he's actually he says, where is that schmonday that you think you're going to fit this into your week, right? And he's right, there is not. But I think because all of these things work together, and remember I talked about integrating, right? So all of my life actually integrates with all of the component parts. So the things that I do for Savvy Ladies and for Legal Family Care, they happen to actually work really well with the things that I do for our clients. Women come to me all the time, for example, who don't have control of their finances, right? Who don't have any knowledge of what their finances are. Well, that's what Savvy Ladies is all about, is answering those questions. And people come to me who can't necessarily afford our services. Or I'm sitting in a courtroom with a pro se litigant, and I'm thinking to myself, it would have been great for that person if they were going to family legal care, because they are just lost in this system, right? And so it all works together, and therefore I'm able to do it within the day. Okay, my day may be more expansive than other people's days, but it all works together.
And what tips would you share forward for other leaders as far as getting involved in not just your career, but doing that next step, doing board service?
So I think that board service, beyond it's giving back. Okay. So there's that, right? Okay. And everybody says that, but it gives so much to you as well, right? There's definitely a satisfaction that you are helping people. Okay. And that you can see the lives that you are actually changing. It is also an incredible way to meet new people. Okay. And I don't have enough time, frankly. That's the one thing I don't have enough time, is to go out and figure out how to meet new people. Well, these are all people that are interested in the same things that I am.
It,
And
it
so,
already has that common ground.
exactly. And these people are now becoming my friends, right? They're people we can have dinner with, people to have drinks with, people to meet for breakfast. Okay. And so again, it's about common ground. And so you're not out there meeting people that have nothing in common with you. You're meeting people who share a common interest with you. And I think that's what's so important about it. And while you're doing that, yes, you are doing good. So that's great. And you are also teaching the people who are coming up in your firm that they need to do the same thing. It's opportunities for them to actually meet new people and to learn how to do this. Both of the boards that I'm talking about have junior boards. And I'm watching, there are junior boards, and these people who are on the junior boards, these individuals now want to become board members in the future. And so it is a learning curve. I have one or two of my people who are on the junior boards, who will come up in terms of these boards. And so it's a huge opportunity, I think. And it's not easy to meet as you actually get older. I don't know if you have found this, Ivy, but it's not as easy to meet new people. And this truly is a way to do that.
You meet new people with automatic shared values.
Exactly.
Shared interests, shared values. You have to do a lot of shopping out there in the dating game of new people in your world and friendships to find that. And all of a sudden, you can go on the pickleball court and you're meeting a bunch of new people, but you're not all aligned with shared values.
Exactly.
You put
Exactly.
yourself in a nonprofit that a bunch of people really care about, and you find yourself sitting at the table with people who have common core values to you.
100% right. And I don't play pickleball, and I'm not very athletic. So that probably cuts down on my ability to meet people, right? I'm not going to meet somebody on the tennis court or on the pickleball court. So this is a perfect place to do this.
Right. And so, Lisa, what has surprised you in the years as you've led a firm for over a dozen years and led so much of a life out there?
So I think what has surprised me probably is my ability to change as I have grown into my own firm, right? I look back and I look at how I was in 2013 as an individual and as a firm leader, and I look at how I am now, and I am very different, frankly. I think that has surprised me.
It's true. As we take on more and more and we play a bigger game, sometimes we have to remember to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, wow, I didn't realize I was investing in this. They say entrepreneurship is the fastest course of personal growth and development that you can take.
I think that that's 100% true. I think that's true. And I think, look, you learn about what works and what does not work as you're running a business. And you certainly, you're not going to try to make that same mistake twice. Maybe you will, but I try not to make the same mistake twice. And I think I've also learned how important mentorship is. I see it in the board work that we do, right, with the junior board. I see it in my firm. I am very proud of the fact that many of my partners have taken on the role of being mentors to younger associates. And I think that is also an important growth factor in any firm. And they have done a great job of that.
That is huge and it truly touches my heart. I can't say that enough. When we lead from the place of mentoring down and then that next level honors it and owns it to mentor down again. And
Yes.
that's leveling up. That's going down to go 100% leveling up.
100%. And that, I think, is also the secret to the growth in the firm, right? Is the ability for my partners to be able to, who were associates, right, at one point, and even interns at another point, okay, that they actually can now be mentoring younger associates. And we are taking more and more first year associates because we have found that, before you know it, they're second year associates.
And before you know it, third, fourth, and fifth. And,
Exactly.
and that's a huge growth path.
Exactly.
So, Lisa, how can our listeners learn more about you, get in touch, reach out?
So they certainly can go on my LinkedIn, Lisa Zeiderman, and we, post regularly on my LinkedIn. We post on Instagram, also Lisa Zeiderman, or there is lisazeiderman.com, which is my blog. And I just came out with a New York Law Journal article today on prenups. It's already posted. So, and of course, your podcast certainly gives them an insight into who I am. But I would say my blog is probably the best way to learn about me.
I love it. And listeners, this is what we say at this point in the show. Take a deep breath in. What is your one takeaway from Lisa and I's conversation today? Jot it down somewhere. Does not matter if it's your phone, a note, if you're old fashioned, like sometimes I am, and actually write a note down. But jot it down, jot down your one takeaway, and then make a decision on one action you're going to take from that. These baby steps and these baby actions add up and culminate in great success. Success is not a destination, it is a journey. And all these baby steps help you stay in that journey and enjoy it. Enjoy what I agree with Lisa, the integration of life and great work and great family. Lisa, thank you so much for joining me here today on Her Success Story.
Thank you so much, Ivy. It was a pleasure. Really great.
And listeners, if this was helpful to you, please pass it forward to others and hit subscribe. We're in your inbox with new content on your podcast app every Monday. See you next time.